What's up, legends? Johnny Salmon here. Welcome back to the CXO podcast. Today, I'm joined by Matt Baldi. How are you, mate?
Good, John. How are you going?
So good, mate. Very, very good. And Matt is sitting out in the winter weather in the middle of Brisbane,
Yeah.
which debatably isn't proper winter compared to some parts of Australia, but he's copping some sun. Mate, appreciate you coming on the podcast today. I'm looking forward to a good conversation.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Mate, or for anyone listening, for a little bit of background, Matt and I train at the same gym, which is Olympia Body Transformations in Brisbane City. And I also do a little bit of, Matt takes care of some of the accounting stuff with my business. So that's how we're linked. If there's anyone wondering, I wonder why these guys are having a conversation. That's exactly why. And the reason I invited Matt on the show is, and I was just sharing with this with him just before we started, was that maybe, would it have been a year ago? It could have been more when we met. Probably a little bit more, perhaps. Actually, it would have been 18 months. It would have been just over 18 months
Yeah.
ago. I was just saying to Matt, I recall him being specifically talking about, and not to sound like an asshole, but you're a lot fitter now. You seem and are a lot fitter and healthier now than you were then. So you've obviously done a lot of change in that time. So that's what I want to unpack today, because there's people that tune into the podcast and they're like, I'm trying to decide to take the step to get fitter, healthier, stronger, whatever it is, but they haven't actually done it yet. You were once there, and now you're at point B where you've implemented change. So I want to unpack that journey and talk about the changes that you've been through. So is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So I guess I'll lead with this question. How did it start? What happened to, like, tell us a bit about maybe before you were training and what made you go, I'm going to change what I'm doing here.
Yep. So it was coming towards the end of, I'm going to say 2021. And it was sort of the calendar year was wrapping up. I can remember going to a work party, and at my accounting firm, Hall Chadwick, are also the accounting firm for Olympia, the gym that me and John train at. And we, at this work lunch we were at, we got to go up and check out the facilities there. That sort of planted a seed in my mind. I hadn't really joined a gym or anything before that. And then I went back to, it was like a work function later that night. And I just remember having a look around the room. I had a few drinks as well. And I just felt like there was something that I had that I needed to get off my chest. But I looked around the room and I couldn't really see anyone there that I felt comfortable talking with them about it. So I sort of stepped outside the room and I thought, who can I call? Who can I talk to about this sort of thought that was in my head? And then I thought, well, maybe I could speak to mum and dad, parents, or friends. And I thought, no, it's actually been bugging me for a while, and I don't really want to hear the same sort of response. So I actually went and called Lifeline. Now, at that point, I really just wanted to talk to someone with a different perspective about what I was thinking, what I was feeling. And basically they said, just go home and talk to mum and dad about it. They're the ones that probably know you best. And basically I went home and I told them that I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy with my job. I wasn't happy with my life. I was 26, 27 at that point, and I just felt like I was going nowhere. And I was living near like West End at the time. And I remember speaking to mum and dad and at our house there, and dad was like, this is a Friday night. He was like, let's drive down to the beach. And I was like, what, are you kidding? It's like 9 o'clock at a Friday night. And he's like, come on, let's go. And we drove down to the beach. We had a really good long chat in the car. We walked on the sand and we sort of developed a plan. for how I was going to get myself out of this little sticky situation, and sort of move forward. So the first step that I took was it was sort of work holidays. I had a little cul-de-sac at the end of my street, and so I just started with some light walking, jogging around that cul-de-sac, just to get some movement going. And then the next step, and probably the most important one, was I reckon it's the day that changed my life, when I walked into Olympia for the first time and met Greg G, the owner. So I walked in and he had this humongous smile on his face, and he just said, "Hi, Matty, nice to meet you." And we spent an hour just talking, and he got to know me really well. He showed me around the club. He signed me up for PT with his brother, and yeah, that's how I guess I started training at the gym. And I still remember my first class that I went to. It was called the Jungle back in those days, and I looked around at the people in the class, and I was like, wow, there's so many people here. They're so much fitter than me, and your own sort of ego gets in the way sometimes. You like look around and you're like, oh, they're going pretty hard. Maybe I can match them. Try and keep up with them, and that is literally the worst thing you can do. I was flat on my back. I was flat on my back after about half an hour, and they brought out the lolly jar for me. Put my head up, and yeah, I was cooked by that point.
You went hard.
Yeah, yeah. But I enjoyed it enough to come, just to go back like the next time. And I think to start with, it was maybe one class a week or something like that, and some strength training, which I'd never really done properly with a trainer.
Yeah.
And the first thing that I noticed about this gym, about Olympia, is that I walked in one day and one of the trainers, I think it was Jack at the time, I hadn't met him before. And he just said, "Oh, see you later, Matt," or, "How's it going, Matt?" And I was like, he knows my name. How does he know my name? It's incredible what the effort that the staff and everyone there go, the effort that they go to get to know you, and
Yeah.
and it's just that feeling of, you know, every time you go in there, they they know your name. They might start talking to you. You immediately feel more at ease, and you're like, great. Well, I feel respected. I feel welcome here. I'm ready to go train today. And so yeah, that was about 3 years ago, and in that time, I've done a few things in terms of little challenges and things along the way. I think at first it was just sort of finding something that I really enjoyed. So I like the classes that they run, which are about 45 minutes. They're high intensity. There's variety in terms of what we do in them, but there's also they're also very safe movements, compound movements that anyone can do from any age, and they're taken by the best bunch of trainers and people. So I got stuck into those, and yeah, before you knew it, I've the last few years I've been going to Olympia 6 days a week, definitely every morning, some nights as well. And it might sound like I live there, but I genuinely loved the environment and the people, the connection that I get with everyone. It's an amazing feeling, to be honest.
Mate, that's so cool. And I want to link back to the first part of what you said in a second, but
Yep.
what you're describing there is, um, you know, this was taught to me about by the college that I studied with, Max, when I did my PT study. And they discussed with me, really, this is years ago. I think it was Rowie, one of the facilitators and owners. I think it was her that told me this. She was like, people have, three places, right? They have their home, they have their work, and they have a second home. It was something
Yep.
like that. And what you're describing there is what you and I probably find in Olympia. It's that place that's not our home, that when you walk in, it's kind of like your family's there.
Yeah, that's right.
It's very welcoming place. And that's cool because gyms can be the complete opposite to that.
Oh, 100%. Look, I've been to other gyms, franchises and sort of the more common ones you'd see around the city or the suburbs, and you get a very different vibe. To be honest, when you walk in, there might be a staff member on the phone, or they don't look like they're paying attention to maybe the other people training there, or you
Mm.
might find it with the members as well. They might sort of all have headphones on and very very focused, and it's great to be focused and determined, and on your goal, or maybe why you came to the gym. But with Olympia, it's like I
Yeah.
never feel too focused, or to not to go to someone and say, "Hey, how's it going?" and have a chat to them, for 5 minutes, 10 minutes,
Mm.
whatever it is, and not feel like it's interrupting their day. Because I find that I've just had so many opportunities to connect with some, incredible people.
Totally, man. Totally. Um, Mate, I would love to link back to the start where you were at your work
Yep.
function and you
Yeah.
needed to go outside and have a think,
Yep.
because I've been there when I was in policing, and I knew in my head and heart I didn't want to do it anymore. And I was like, I'm just turning up doing this thing over and over and over. And I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do or where I wanted to go, but I was like, whatever I'm feeling right now, I don't want to feel like this for much longer because I don't want to be here
Yep.
anymore.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and I don't know if you're at Hall Chadwick or somewhere else, but you won't be the only one who's been at a work function or been hanging around with people, and you're stuck in this rut or cycle, and you're like, I need to change some habits and behaviors and lifestyle, or this direction isn't going to end up very good. What was the feeling or the emotion that triggered that?
To be honest, uh, I don't know if it's complacency, or even if it's fear of the unknown, as in, like, maybe I was afraid to uh, take a a giant leap or step out of line. Alcohol certainly doesn't help at that point.
Mm,
It could have induced some paranoia, maybe. But I knew that I hadn't been happy, and I hadn't been happy for a while. So
yep.
for me, I remember also, like, the first time I ever sort of saw Olympia was through their Instagram, and Jakey Evangelo was there doing a class, and he had the biggest smile on his face, and I was like, to be honest, in my head, I was like, how can anyone honestly be that happy? But now I get it. Now I get it.
Yeah.
You can be happy. You can find a passion or a drive in your life that honestly makes you feel good. You want to do good by other people. Um, yeah, it's incredible what this has done for me. So um,
Mm,
yeah, I guess for anyone that's sort of struggling in that space, it's often good to reflect and think about, okay, what can I do about my situation? Um,
yep.
and a lot of people, might not realize that they're at that point in their lives where they might think, oh, maybe I shouldn't be thinking those thoughts, or I should be, I want to be in a comfortable position with a stable job. But honestly, if we don't look in the mirror sometimes, and we don't, have those honest conversations with ourselves, we might not have them. And not to say that it's never too late, but sometimes 5 or 10 years can go past, and you can look at yourself in the mirror and think, "Wow, where's that time gone? What have I done over those last, you know, 5 or 10 years that I'm honestly really proud of?" I can look
Mm,
back and I can use that, um, you know, as motivation, or celebrate the successes that I've had, and move forward. So yeah, for me, the last 3 years has just been a whirlwind, and it's been an incredibly positive whirlwind. But I've been doing it recently, is trying to find one time of the year, and it'll be for me, it's an annual holiday, where I can look back at the last 12 months and think about, okay, what did I do in the last 12 months that really worked for me? Um, was it a little change that I made, or even if it's like putting an accomplishment or something for the next 12 months and looking back and saying, yeah, I did that, I can tick that box. And then that sort of helps you, plan out the next 12 months too. Like, okay, I did that last year. What am I going to do this year? What's something that's going to really challenge me? And often it's those kind of things that are like, you'd call it, I don't know, like, holy shit, I can't believe I just did that sort of things. They're the things that I'm trying to incorporate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
The things that you, it's like when you get to step away from the day-to-day business as usual stuff and plant something in your calendar in the future. And it's funny you mentioned that. I get the people I coach to do similar things, especially if they need challenge and they're stuck in that routine all the time. And they're like, I'm
yeah,
bored, I'm sad, I'm eating heaps, I'm drinking, like I'm just in this, like on this hamster wheel. It's like, do something different. Like,
yeah,
if you always go to the Sunshine Coast, go to the Gold Coast. Make your brain do different things, like challenge it to do
yeah.
stuff that it's not used to.
And if you're not comfortable in, if you get asked that question, or someone says do something different, and then you say, oh yeah, I will, and then maybe you don't sort of follow up on it, there is always support out there. There is always help out there. There are, there's psychologists, there's personal trainers, are incredible. People like yourself, John, people that can find that little bit of motivation in someone that they didn't know they had, or that little bit of, spark or energy. It only takes, sometimes a few words to unlock the door, and
Mm,
all of a sudden, you could find a completely different side of someone that may not have been feeling the best recently, but that all of a sudden their mind just focuses on something else, and yeah, and they're away, and it's amazing what a little bit of encouragement can do to that person. It
mm.
can just help them push into so many different areas of life that they haven't really encountered before.
100%, mate. Totally. Man, talk to me about the changes you've noticed in your day-to-day mindset, because, people often resonate with the videos on YouTube of people like, Jocko Willick or David Goggins, or those really hardcore people who talk about mindset and incorporating stress into their life and stress reduction through stress. But talk to us about just I'm the opposite. I'm not like a hypey rah 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 like beat your chest kind of discipline motivation guy. I'm like a let's build small habits that over time change your life massively, which they do if you implement them and get consistent with them. But I want to understand for you those changes you've made with fitness, nutrition, having a stronger community. How has that helped you in even just day to day work life?
It's helped me enormously. I'm actually going through at the moment. I'm 15 weeks away from competing in my first bodybuilding show. Now, if you told me that 3 years ago,
Awesome.
you would, yeah, you'd think, Matt, you're crazy. But for me, um, that's helped me immensely in building tiny little habits. So one thing I have to do for this competition is I have to track my food. I have to find, first of all, I my coach has given me some recommendations as to, okay, here's what you can eat to achieve your specific calorie target. And I might look at that list and be like, I don't like that food, I like that food. And then all it took was one or two recipes of, okay, I've sort of worked out this is food that I actually enjoy eating, and I actually feel grateful to eat this sort of food. So I make like a sweet potato bowl for lunch, and marinated grilled chicken and spud light for dinner. And that's been my lunch and dinner for the past 8 weeks. And for the next 16 weeks, it'll be my lunch and dinner, but it's mine.
That's so good.
but it's mine. As in, I've come up with the,
Yes.
I've come up with the formula. You might look at
Yeah.
people like The Rock, or who's the other, like Mark Wahlberg, and you look at their routines, and they get up at like 3 a.m. in the morning, and they do crazy weights, or half their day is done by 10 a.m. And people look at that and go, "Oh, that's insane! Like, how could anyone live like that?" Well, not everyone lives like that. They've made a choice to live like that because it works for them. So the best advice I can give, I think, is find something that works for you.
Mm.
Everyone is different. Everyone likes different foods, or has different sleeping patterns, different times they like to train. Um, it's all different. But as soon as you find something that you can go, okay, I can eat this food. It's really tasty. I really enjoy it. I love training at this time of the day. For me, it's the mornings. First thing in the morning, get it done. Then it's basically done for the day. Those sort of things just make a
Mm.
world of difference. Once you find something that you're like, yep, I put my stamp on it. This is what I want to do. Um, yeah, you sort of take ownership of it, and then you're like, you might get to later in the week, and you just sort of keep. For me, it's just a rinse and repeat. It happens every day. And for me, I can't really give many excuses as to why I wouldn't keep doing it, because I've chosen my path, if that makes sense. I've
Yeah, it does
chosen,
make sense.
yeah, yeah,
That's awesome. And dude, that you made a really good point in finding your way. Like I say the same. You've nailed something that I try and embed very early on with helping people with this stuff. Is this is a personalized training program for you? But if you don't like this particular movement and you're not going to commit to doing that in your exercise routine every single week, let's change it.
mm,
Here's some guidance around your nutrition. But if you're not going to
yep,
eat apples, then don't force them down your throat, because you will stop eating apples, which means your plan
yeah,
goes out the window.
yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah, if there's a certain exercise or a certain food you don't like, and your trainer might program that to you and give that to you, just get on the phone with them, send them a quick text. Hey, I'm feeling a bit uncomfortable about this exercise, or maybe I've had an injury in the past. I'd rather do something else. If it's a food, yeah, I don't really like eating apples. That's okay. Let's find another fruit that maybe you do like, or you're like, okay, I haven't tried that. I'll give that a go. There are substitutes for, but believe it or not, there are substitutes for pretty much everything. But the non-negotiable is rocking up and putting in the effort. Um, and that's something
Yeah.
that I take pride in. That I'm always at the gym 6 a.m. pretty much most mornings, and I'm there. I'm doing something. I'm doing a workout that my trainer has programmed for me. Or before I started this competition prep, it was I'm doing a class, and then someone gets to yell at me for 45 minutes, start moving, and then but it's you take responsibility of it, and it's very empowering too when you realize, wow, I'm in charge of what I do. So I'm in charge
Mm.
of my own movement. I'm in charge of what goes into my body. um, yeah, very empowering, because you can basically say I'm my own boss, really, at that point.
Totally, mate. Mate, that's the whole. That's like the. It almost encompasses the vision I've got for chief exercise officer, which is the company I've got, is that people become the CXO, so it's not CEO, but the chief exercise officer of themselves in their own life. They know how to
Yeah,
eat, train, look after themselves, de-stress, go, do R&R activities and do all the things to look after their body and brain without having to indefinitely rely on someone else. That's coaching, in a frame, is like it's teaching someone to do something for themselves, not creating indefinite dependence. So you're right. It's like, how do you lead yourself in this? You might need help early on, but eventually you need to be able to look after yourself. So,
yeah,
mate, can
100%.
you talk to me? Sorry, you're right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Must be a slight delay. The What was going to be my follow up question? Oh, I just had a cracker. Well, I thought it was a cracker. Oh yeah. So before you were doing any of this training, eating, tracking your food, going to the gym, etc. Um, let me ask this first. I assume with going to the gym, walking to and from train/work or whatever you do there, you know, tracking your food, etc. Could we call it like a 10-hour a week time investment across the week?
Uh, yeah, it depends how much I'm training. So, look, let's call it. So, if you include travel, because there's a little bit of travel involved for me, I'm going to say, yeah, comfortably 10 hours a week. Yeah.
Cool. So if we've got 10 hours before you did any of this, um, what'd you do after work? And I'm asking this for a reason because I know there's people that do the too busy call. Like, would you fill your time with other stuff?
I was a couch potato, to be honest. So, I also I lived in for this lived in the city for a little while. So I I really had no excuses. I suppose I was at the gym at that point, but wasn't training or anything necessarily. I mean, it's so easy to get home, make dinner, and then have dessert or snacks, sit on the couch, and that sort of thing. But what I've done in the last sort of couple of months is I'm genuinely so tired once I get home that I'm in bed within a couple of hours. But I do
Yeah.
start pretty early. I set an alarm for 4:15, but I'm really not out of bed until say quarter to five. Leave home at 5:15, and then I'm in the city by 6, and then yeah, normally home by around 6 to 7:30. Um, but yeah, within an hour or two of me getting home, I'm in bed. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and that's a really good point. Like you can be, because there'll be people who will listen to this who are couch potatoes who, have a stomach that's bigger than they want and maybe a rear end that matches, but that you go home from work and Matt's been there, I've been there. You go home and you just eat and sit around and don't really do much. Like your body wants to move, and your brain feels so much better as a result of it, which you probably heard in this conversation already. That if you can, it doesn't have to be 10 hours. I was just trying to add up your 6 training sessions and all that stuff. But man,
yeah,
you can 3 to 5 hours a week, you can be in a completely different position with your health and fitness, right?
yeah, 100%. Even just 45 minutes a day, right? Is the general guideline for healthy activity. Whether that's and we can all find time for it too. For instance, today I went for a walk during lunch, and it was only a 15-20 minute walk. But it's amazing how it breaks up my day. Getting outside,
Yeah.
getting a bit of sunlight. Um, so yeah, for me, I make those things a priority because I do want to work hard and progress with my career, but at the same time, I know these things are important. Getting that little bit of sunlight, you know, means that I can fully break up the day and really finish the day sort of strong, I guess. And then yeah,
Yeah.
for other people, it might be like, well, don't really want to go for a run. Just go for a half an hour walk in the afternoon, or pick a time of day that suits you. Again, it's all about finding something that you can do and own it as well. Say, yep, I'm going to do this week, or maybe once a week, whatever it is, whatever the baseline is for you. And then you can look
Mm.
back on it and go, last week was great. I managed to do a few walks, maybe two or three. This time I'm going to try four. And then, the next week it might be five. And that's sort of how it snowballs. And before you know it, you might become
Yeah.
like me over time.
You're doing bodybuilding and Muay Thai camps in Thailand and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
That's so good. That's so good. Mate, it's really it's inspiring to see, and I like that's why I like having these conversations, man, because you've shared two things that there'll be people that that do listen, and people do listen. My stats show that there'll be. It just takes that one thing sometimes where they hear it and go, "Oh, how used to feel. That's exactly how I feel," and it makes
Mm,
them make a decision. And whether that's with my coaching business, that would be amazing. But if it's with, there's thousands of people out there that
yeah,
if find someone that can help you, because if you haven't done that, pulled the trigger and done it yourself yet, man, there's a small, sometimes large financial investment in this, but it's so much like the return is lifelong when you learn how to do this stuff. Hey, like it's a
absolutely.
lifelong
Yeah,
investment in yourself.
that's right. And it sets you up for life as well. Like I look at my philosophy on life now, and I guess yeah, health and fitness is the cornerstone of my life now. I can't imagine it without it.
Mm.
It's part of my daily routine. It's ingrained into me that if you're not feeling too well, maybe it's because you haven't been moving and you haven't been eating the best. So for me, yeah, 100%. Um, I just keep practicing those really good daily habits. So yeah,
So cool, man. And mate, so you've got a bodybuilding comp coming up soon. That's rad. When is that, by
yeah,
the way?
that's the end of September. It's the I Compete Natural Season B at Chandler.
Natural. What, you don't want to get on the juice?
Yeah, no, I definitely don't want to get on the juice. It's hard enough doing it
Don't do that,
uh, this way, and yeah, no, I don't condone that sort of thing. But yeah,
mate.
I chose this competition because I was chatting to a friend and Lucy from our gym, and she was showing me, she was going to do a comp, and she was showing me what her coach was giving her in terms of, oh, here's what you got to eat, and here's the exercise you got to do, and I looked at it and I thought, you know what, I reckon I can do that, and as soon as that thought went into my mind, I said, I'm doing it, and then I told 30 or 40 different people I'm doing this competition, and you might get responses like, you're crazy, what are you thinking, why would you do such a thing? And for me, I just want, I'm not doing it to look good. I'm purely doing it for mental reasons. I want a challenge. I want something that, can you
Mm.
stick to a plan for basically half a year? Can you stick to a diet, a training regime? Can you get good sleep? Can you still be the same person that you are every day, even when you're doing
Mm.
something like this? Um, they're all really fascinating questions to me. So I look forward to the next 15 weeks and how it will all pan out. There's only really one person that knows how it's all going to look, and that's my coach. And Josh. So yeah, I'm just really looking forward to it now.
Yeah, that's awesome, mate. If for anyone listening, my joke about the juice, I definitely don't condone that either. It's a very very bad plan, very bad idea.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I've got friends, colleagues, acquaintances that have been there, done that, and trust me, it doesn't lead to good things. So that was definitely a joke. Now with was that Josh Greeny you're talking about?
yep, yep.
Great, you're in good hands then. That's awesome. Mate, that's really cool. End of September. Like, shoot me the details if so I don't forget later. Send me the dates and stuff. Mate, I would love to. If someone's listened to our conversation so far and they're still listening, congratulations if you're still listening. And you're
Well
thinking,
done.
I really, yeah, I really just don't know where to start. I know I need to do something about it. What would you've been there, right? Like you've been in the pre-decision mindset before. What do you, and everyone's got their different reasons, but what do you recommend they do? Like what's a way to get started that's simple, that creates a win in your eyes?
Um, the biggest win I feel that you can have is if you've got something on your chest, is to tell someone about it. So, for men historically, we'd be maybe nervous, scared, or afraid to show our vulnerable side or to open up or to talk about feelings. But for some people, some people will hold on to certain feelings, feel a certain way for a long time and not really have the courage to speak up and say something about it or tell someone important in your life, hey, I'm really struggling. Um,
Mm,
or I think I need a hand with this because there is no shortage of help in the world. Um, in the world, in your local area. I think, yeah, to be honest, a great personal trainer for me has made a world of difference. Someone who's there by your side, constantly, encouraging you to get better. I've got a great trainer, Jakey Vangelou at Olympia, and we've been together for about 3 years, and he's always there. He does not, you know, um, he does not act like a drill sergeant in terms of, give me 100 push-ups or anything like that. He works the opposite way. He's all about encouragement in little bites, essentially. If he can see you doing
mm,
7 reps, he'll make you do an 8. But he'll assist you. He'll help you every step of the way. So, and often it's just about finding that one person that believes in you. And I certainly feel with him, he's believed in a lot in me over the journey. And once you find that one person, um, it's amazing when they have that belief in you, you start to believe, okay, I'm sure and the other thing I'd say is don't be afraid to fail, especially at the start. No one picks something up the first time and is just, naturally great with it. Well, some people might, but most people it will take time to learn a new exercise, a new way of eating, even if it's the
mm, mm,
smallest change. So, sometimes we're conditioned to, our minds are conditioned to say, oh, that didn't feel right, or, oh, that was too hard. And we sort of go into fight or flight mode and we don't know how to behave because we've been used to the same movements or the same patterns of life every day.
mm, mm,
But when you've got someone there that's literally watching your every move, they'll guide you through the process. And sort of hold your hand in a way to the point where you don't need to hold their hand anymore. You can walk on your own 2 feet, and you can find something that works for you. So I'd say they're the three big takeaways: is find someone that is willing to believe in you, and then the second one would be don't be afraid to speak up, to ask questions. Everyone has been uh, everyone has had difficult times, and people are more than happy to share their experiences. That's what I've found
mm,
anyway. Um, and then the third thing is, yeah, once those two are done, or not done, but you've worked on them to a good extent. The next thing is, yeah, implementing what you've been taught and following a routine that you've put your own rubber stamp on. This is my routine. This is what I do. I do it because I enjoy doing it. Um,
mm,
and
mm.
yeah, you go from there.
Mate, that's bloody great feedback and good advice. Thank you for sharing. It's
No worries. Yeah,
it's funny, hey, when you look back on it, like what you just described there, and um, I guess any of the people I've worked with, when you look back, it truly is like those really small things that add up. I refer to it as taught to me as habit stacking, where it's like a ladder and you've got no runs on the ladder, like you can't walk up it and you can't jump to the top, which is your goal. And you have to just keep on building step after step after step and make them really solid foundations for each of them. And eventually you can climb it, and it's like an indefinite thing because your goals change and the journey gets further, but you can't, you, unless you hydrate more, you won't be able to train more. Unless you go to the gym, you won't get stronger. Unless you eat more
yeah,
chicken, you're not going to recover as well. Like whatever it is, but
yeah,
it's those small little things.
yeah. You can't build the ladder without the rungs. You need the
Mm,
rungs, which are
mm,
your little habits, and they come over time, and they come by. Uh, sometimes it's by asking someone who you might see in day to day life, and you might look at them and go, "Wow, they're happy all the time." What works for them, and you can ask them that, and they can tell you. But then your main takeaway is not to do exactly what they're doing, because everyone is different. It might be to take
Mm,
one little habit away for the day. Okay, they do that. Well, maybe I might not like doing necessarily what they do, but I can put my own spin on it. I can try this, and see how it goes. And the other thing that I would say that really helps all of this is, for me, it's repetition and routine. Um, I
mm.
find that when I don't have a solid routine, um, to be honest, these days it's pretty rare. I'm always doing something, or I've literally got a calendar in my phone, and my gym sessions are set up like appointments. So I kind of feel like if I don't go to the gym, I'm missing an appointment. um,
Yeah.
so I know that, okay, I'm going to be there at that time. Um, it's gone to a subconscious level at this point where I know that, yep, I'm going to be walking in and this is what I'm going to be doing. And I've planned ahead of time so that I get in there and I know what I'm doing. That's a great way to start. And then once you start doing that, that's how you get into that rhythm and that habit of, okay, it starts with, yep, I turn up. It might not be every day, but it might be once a week, and you say to yourself, right, once a week, I'm not going to miss that appointment. I'm going to keep going and keep showing up, and then it might be, okay, I can squeeze another appointment in here, um, and you fit it around your life and what works for you, and then over time, yeah, it just builds and grows from there.
Mate, that's really good point you just made about the calendar thing. Like treating it like any other appointment. Whether it's an accountant meeting, whether it's going to the grocery store, whether it's showing up for
Yeah,
work so you don't get fired, or making a sale. Like go to the
yeah,
gym, like put it in the calendar, and
yeah.
you got to reverse engineer the time. Then how do I get there on time? What have I got to take with me? Like it's basic, but you make a good point. Some people don't think about it like that.
It's an appointment with your. It's an appointment. It's an appointment for yourself, especially if you're going to train
100%.
on your own. Um,
Yeah.
because that's self accountability. That's you saying, "Yep, I'm going to make the time to," and it's also taking back part of the day, where a lot of people will spend a lot of their day and give a lot of their time to other people, but I don't think enough of us take time during the day for me time.
Mm.
To give the gym is sort of it's my time in the morning, 45 minutes to 90 minutes. Um, I can take that time. Sure, I interact with other people, but my purpose is to train, and the training is the me time, and then the rest of the day is the time I dedicate to everyone else. So it's great to
Yes.
have that little block of the day where you can focus on yourself, sets you up for the rest of the day.
Yeah. 100%, mate. Mate, that's great. And look, we've been on the chat for 40 minutes, so I'm going to wrap us up. Otherwise, the viewers will start dropping off. But there's some gold nuggets in there, and I often say this
Yeah,
at the end of these combos because they often inspire me too. Is that if you've listened to this point and you haven't learned something, go start it again because there's so many little tiny actionable steps in that combo. So Matt, I appreciate you sharing all that.
no worries. My pleasure.
That's really good. Mate, any closing words or comments for a listener that's still dialed in?
Thanks for listening to this point. I hope what I've shared today will help someone. It probably only takes one person, right, to make a difference. So,
That's it.
and yeah, stay tuned. Um, for me personally, I'm very excited about this competition I've got coming up. But if you happen to train at Olympia like me and John, come over and say hello. I'm normally in the morning, so yeah, more than happy to help out.
For sure, for sure. And mate, I'm gonna get a snappy photo. Let's get a thumbs up happening. Hang on, where's the? There we go. Beauty. Thanks for coming on.